As the sun rose on 2024, geopolitical tensions surrounding Taiwan reached unprecedented levels. China, now more emboldened than ever, escalated its military maneuvers in response to Taiwan's new president, Lai Ching-te, whose pro-independence stance has intensified the standoff. With Taiwan at the epicenter of one of the world's most complex geopolitical conflicts, its fate is not just a regional issue, it is a global flashpoint.
Chinese military hardware has surrounded Taiwan in an aggressive display of military drills.
China's military is carrying out live-fire exercises around Taiwan. The drills come days after Taiwan inaugurated its new president.
President Lai's election victory sent shockwaves across the region, symbolizing a defiance against Beijing's persistent claims over the island. Taiwan's historic struggle for sovereignty, tracing back to the Chinese Civil War of 1949, has become an emblem of defiance against authoritarianism. In turn, China's military response underscores its unwavering resolve to reintegrate Taiwan, even at the cost of heightened regional instability. This dynamic has placed Taiwan at the center of a strategic chessboard involving China, the United States, and regional actors like the Philippines, each of whom is calculating their moves carefully as the stakes rise. This escalating tension isn't just about military drills or political rhetoric. It's about a region where ancient legacies clash with modern geopolitics. Understanding the fragile equilibrium that holds the Indo-Pacific together requires unpacking the historical, economic, and military layers that make this conflict so combustible. The election of Lai Ching-te in January 2024 signaled a continuation of Taiwan's defiance against China's One China policy. As the successor to Tsai Ing-wen, Lai's presidency was seen as a commitment to preserving Taiwan's de facto independence, a stance that has made Beijing increasingly uneasy. In his inaugural address, Lai did not mince words. Taiwan is an independent nation, and its right to self-determination must be respected.
I hope that China will face the reality of the Republic of China's existence and engage in cooperation with the legal government chosen by Taiwan's people.
This declaration further solidified Taiwan's trajectory towards formal independence, raising alarms in Beijing, where the leadership views Taiwan's moves as provocations that could lead to war. The rise of pro-independence sentiment in Taiwan coincided with China ramping up military activity in the Taiwan Strait. Beijing's response has been swift and aggressive. One of the most visible signs of this escalation has been the increase in military activity around Taiwan.
中国人民解放军有可靠的手段让天堑变通途，有强大的能力挫败台独武装的任何负隅顽抗，坚决捍卫国家主权和领土完整。
In May 2024, two Chinese People's Liberation Army (PLA) naval ships entered Taiwan's restricted waters near Kinmen Island, an event that forms part of a broader pattern of military incursions. Chinese air and naval forces have regularly breached Taiwan's air defense identification zone and crossed the median line in the Taiwan Strait, a once respected buffer zone. For instance, in January 2024, 39 Chinese military aircraft, including advanced J-20 stealth fighters, entered Taiwan's air defense identification zone, marking one of the largest single-day incursions to date. By early October 2024, Taiwan's Ministry of National Defense had recorded over 200 incursions by Chinese military aircraft and naval vessels into its ADs and surrounding waters. These incursions serve multiple purposes. First, they are designed to intimidate Taiwan, sending a clear signal that Beijing has the capability and willingness to use military force to assert its claims over the island. Second, they test Taiwan's defensive responses and normalize the presence of Chinese military assets in the area, gradually eroding the status quo. In September 2024, 4 Chinese Coast Guard ships entered the restricted waters of Taiwan's Kinmen Islands twice in a single day, showcasing Beijing's growing confidence in asserting its control over contested waters. In addition to military actions, China has increasingly relied on economic coercion to pressure Taiwan. One significant recent development was Beijing's suspension of tariff exemptions on 134 Taiwanese goods under the Cross-Strait Economic Cooperation Framework Agreement, ECFA. This suspension affects critical sectors such as agriculture and industrial materials, hurting Taiwan's export-driven economy. By targeting key economic sectors, China aims to weaken Taiwan's economic resilience and force it to align more closely with Beijing's policies. Furthermore, the removal of these tariff exemptions is part of a broader strategy of economic isolation. China's economic clout allows it to exert pressure not only on Taiwan, but also on multinational corporations and countries that engage with the island. For example, companies like Marriott International, Delta Airlines, and Zara have been coerced into apologizing and amending their websites after listing Taiwan as a separate country. These moves underscore how Beijing uses economic leverage to enforce its One China policy, ensuring that even private enterprises comply with its political demands. Simultaneously, China has ramped up diplomatic efforts to isolate Taiwan. Beijing has warned the international community, particularly the United States, against providing military or diplomatic support to Taiwan.
美国向中国台湾地区出售武器，严重违反了一个中国原则和中美3个联合公报，特别是817公报的规定，严重侵犯了中国的主权和安全利益，损害中美关系和台海和平稳定，向台独分裂势力发出错误信号。中方强烈谴责，坚决反对，已向美方提出严正交涉。
In 2024, Chinese officials repeatedly emphasized that Taiwan represents a core national interest, a non-negotiable issue for Beijing. This hardline stance has escalated tensions with the US and other countries that seek to engage with Taiwan. A prime example of China's diplomatic strategy came in 2024 when Nauru, one of Taiwan's key Pacific allies, switched its diplomatic recognition from Taipei to Beijing. This shift reduced Taiwan's number of official allies to just 12, further isolating the island on the international stage. Paraguay, Taiwan's last remaining South American ally, also finds itself under constant pressure from Beijing's economic enticements, as China continues to offer lucrative trade deals in exchange for diplomatic recognition. China's increasingly aggressive posture is also evident in the activities of its Coast Guard. In February 2024, 3 Chinese Coast Guard ships entered Taiwan's contiguous zone off the east coast of the main island.
呼叫中国海警14508，中国海警14508，这里是中华民国海巡署 PP108邀艇广播。
These incursions, part of a broader series of provocative maritime actions, aim to demonstrate China's ability to challenge Taiwan's sovereignty over its surrounding waters. The frequent presence of Chinese vessels in these areas signals Beijing's growing willingness to push the boundaries of maritime control, eroding Taiwan's maritime defenses. The frequency and scale of incursions in 2024 mark a clear escalation in China's efforts to apply pressure on Taiwan. Incidents such as the January 2024 incursion involving 39 Chinese aircraft and the May 2024 naval incursion near Kinmen Island are direct challenges to Taiwan's territorial integrity. September 2024 witnessed multiple incursions by the Chinese Coast Guard into Taiwan's restricted waters, further undermining Taiwan's ability to maintain control over its maritime territories. These incursions are not just symbolic, they represent tangible threats to Taiwan's security. The increased frequency of such incidents points to a strategy aimed at gradually wearing down Taiwan's defenses, normalizing China's military presence in the region and signaling Beijing's readiness for more aggressive action should Taiwan pursue formal independence. Facing mounting pressure from China, Taiwan has been actively preparing itself both militarily and politically to counter these threats. Taiwan's government has taken concrete steps to enhance its defense capabilities and build stronger international partnerships. Taiwan's military, though dwarfed by China's PLA, has been undergoing significant modernization. In 2024, Taiwan announced plans to increase its defense budget to 2.5% of its GDP, reflecting its prioritization of defense preparedness. Key upgrades include the acquisition of F-16V fighter jets, indigenous missile defense systems, and an expansion of its naval fleet with domestically built frigates and submarines. Taiwan has also increased its production of precision-guided missiles designed to deter or delay a potential Chinese amphibious invasion. Moreover, Taiwan has adopted an asymmetric defense strategy, often referred to as the porcupine strategy. This approach focuses on enhancing Taiwan's ability to make any potential invasion costly and prolonged for China. The strategy includes developing anti-ship and anti-aircraft missile systems, improving cyber defenses, and preparing for guerrilla-style warfare in urban areas should China attempt a full-scale invasion. Taiwan is also working to strengthen its civil defense network. President Lai's administration has focused on building a comprehensive defense mobilization plan that involves all citizens in case of invasion. Taiwan has revamped its reserve forces, increasing the duration of training for reservists, and holding regular military drills that simulate a Chinese attack. In 2024, Taiwan held its largest ever military exercises, involving over 300,000 personnel in live-fire drills across the island. On the diplomatic front, Taiwan has been reinforcing its alliances with key democratic nations, particularly the United States and Japan. U.S. arms sales to Taiwan have continued unabated, with the Biden administration approving a new $2 billion military package in early 2024. Taiwan has also deepened its security ties with Japan, holding joint military exercises focused on defending critical maritime routes in the East China Sea. The Quad Alliance, involving the US, Japan, Australia, and India, also plays a crucial role in Taiwan's security calculus, although Taiwan is not a formal member. Taiwan's diplomatic efforts have also focused on strengthening unofficial relations with European nations. In 2024, the European Parliament passed a resolution calling for deeper political and trade ties with Taiwan, marking a significant step in Taiwan's broader international strategy. Beijing's determination to reintegrate Taiwan is deeply rooted in its historical grievances. For Chinese leaders, Taiwan represents the unfinished business of the Chinese Civil War, a vestige of the nationalist Kuomintang's retreat to the island in 1949. For President Xi Jinping, bringing Taiwan back under Chinese control is central to his vision of a rejuvenated China. While Xi has expressed a preference for peaceful reunification under the one country, two systems framework, his rhetoric has grown increasingly belligerent. Xi has made it clear that military force remains an option if Taiwan crosses any red lines toward formal independence.
台湾是中国的神圣领土，两岸人民血脉相连，血浓于水。我们要坚持一个中国原则和9·2共识，深化两岸经济文化交流合作，促进两岸同胞心灵契合，坚决反对台独分裂活动，实现祖国完全统一。
For decades, the United States has maintained a critical role in preserving the status quo across the Taiwan Strait. Through arms sales, diplomatic support, and the positioning of military assets in the region, the U.S. has provided Taiwan with a security umbrella aimed at deterring Chinese aggression. The Taiwan Relations Act, TRA, of 1979 obliges the U.S. to supply Taiwan with the means of self-defense, though it stops short of guaranteeing direct military intervention. In 2024, U.S. support for Taiwan intensified as China's threats grew. Washington has not only ramped up military aid to Taiwan, but also expanded joint exercises with Indo-Pacific allies, notably Japan, South Korea, and the Philippines, aimed at countering Chinese aggression. The U.S. Navy's Freedom of Navigation operations, FONOPs, in the Taiwan Strait have become more frequent, signaling Washington's commitment to keeping these international waters open and countering Chinese territorial claims. Washington's strategic alliances in the Indo-Pacific, including its enhanced defense cooperation agreement with the Philippines, have been crucial in maintaining a deterrence posture against China. Under EDCA, the U.S. has access to several military bases in the Philippines, including those near the South China Sea, enabling rapid deployment in the event of a conflict. This enhanced military presence is designed not only to safeguard Taiwan, but also to protect the broader security architecture of the Indo-Pacific. Recent developments in 2024, including expanded arms sales to Taiwan and the strategic positioning of U.S. forces in the region, suggest that Washington is preparing for a long-term standoff with China. However, the U.S. also faces the delicate task of managing this rivalry without triggering a full-blown war. Washington's strategy remains one of deterrence, bolstering Taiwan's defenses without crossing China's red lines.
The fact that this was announced over the radio prior to doing it clearly indicated that it was intentional. Maneuvering close to each other, 150 yards is very scary. And you don't ever want to be that close to another vessel because too many things can go wrong and you can actually have a collision.
Still, the risks of miscalculation are high, with both Beijing and Washington wary of actions that could lead to open conflict. While ASEAN has traditionally maintained a policy of non-interference, the rising tensions in the Taiwan Strait have forced the regional bloc to confront a potential security crisis on its doorstep. Taiwan's strategic location and the possibility of a broader conflict involving China and the U.S. pose significant risks for Southeast Asia. Vietnam and Indonesia, the two largest ASEAN countries, have adopted cautious but notable stances on the Taiwan issue. Vietnam, which shares a history of territorial disputes with China, has quietly supported Taiwan's right to self-defense. In early 2024, Vietnam increased its maritime patrols in the South China Sea in response to China's growing assertiveness, sending a subtle message of solidarity with Taiwan's defensive posture. Indonesia, ASEAN's de facto leader, has been more restrained, advocating for dialogue and regional stability. However, Indonesia has also expressed concern over China's militarization of the South China Sea and its potential spillover effects. In 2024, Indonesia led efforts within ASEAN to call for peaceful resolution and adherence to international law in the Taiwan Strait, though these efforts have so far yielded limited results. In this escalating regional rivalry, the Philippines plays an outsized role. Its geographic position in the first island chain, a string of islands stretching from Japan to Southeast Asia, makes it a critical player in the U.S.'s strategy of containing China. Situated near key maritime routes and close to contested territories in the South China Sea, the Philippines' strategic value has only grown in recent years. Under the administration of Ferdinand Marcos Jr., the Philippines has recalibrated its foreign policy to strengthen its military ties with the U.S. while cautiously managing its relationship with China. The Enhanced Defense Cooperation Agreement has allowed for greater U.S. military access to Philippine bases, significantly bolstering the U.S.'s ability to project power in the region. Additionally, the annual Balikatan exercises between the U.S. and the Philippines have focused on joint defense strategies aimed at deterring Chinese aggression. However, the Philippines' role extends beyond military strategy. Economically, it is intricately linked to Taiwan, particularly in the electronics and semiconductor industries. A Chinese invasion of Taiwan would not only disrupt regional trade routes, but also severely impact the Philippines' economy. The South China Sea, through which $4 trillion worth of trade passes annually, is crucial to the Philippines' economic health. Any military conflict in the region would pose severe economic and security risks to the country. In recent years, the Philippines has also taken a more assertive stance on its territorial claims in the South China Sea, particularly in response to Chinese encroachments on its exclusive economic zone. While the Philippines has sought joint development agreements with China for hydrocarbon exploration, these have been fraught with legal and political challenges, highlighting the ongoing complexity of the South China Sea disputes. In the event of a Chinese military assault on Taiwan, the Philippines would find itself at the heart of regional upheaval, both economically and strategically. Taiwan is one of the Philippines' critical trade partners, particularly in the sectors of electronics and machinery, industries that serve as lifelines to the Philippines' own manufacturing sector. A disruption to these supply chains would send shockwaves through the Philippine economy, amplifying trade deficits and potentially stalling growth in key industrial hubs. Beyond economics, the broader geopolitical landscape would also shift, as conflict in the Taiwan Strait could disrupt essential maritime routes through the South China Sea. Given the Philippines' dependence on these routes for trade and energy imports, any sustained instability would deepen economic woes. Yet, despite these anticipated economic challenges, the Philippines would likely align itself with Taiwan, motivated by historical bonds, shared democratic values, and the significant number of overseas Filipino workers, OFWs, residing in Taiwan, many of whom play critical roles in both economies. This solidarity might not remain limited to diplomatic gestures or economic support. It could extend into military cooperation, especially under the framework of existing defense agreements with the United States. In a broader conflict scenario, the Philippines' geographic proximity to Taiwan and its hosting of U.S. military assets would make it a critical logistical hub for allied operations, offering staging grounds for humanitarian missions or even military actions in support of Taiwan's defense. For the U.S., maintaining stability in the Indo-Pacific is paramount. While a direct military confrontation with China might initially be avoided, the U.S. would likely respond with economic sanctions, cyber warfare, and an increased military presence in the region. This escalation would naturally involve the Philippines, whose bases would be crucial for any extended U.S. operation. Joint military exercises, already a staple of U.S.-Philippine defense cooperation, would be scaled up, reinforcing their mutual commitment to resisting Chinese aggression. China, while formidable, faces substantial operational and strategic challenges in invading Taiwan. The Taiwan Strait presents geographical hurdles, Taiwan's defenses are robust, and U.S. intervention remains a looming possibility. Moreover, China's military, despite its size, has not engaged in large-scale warfare in decades, raising doubts about its readiness for an operation of such magnitude. Economically, the international community's sanctions could devastate China's supply chains, leading to internal political instability if the conflict drags on or results in a failure to swiftly achieve its objectives. In such a high-stakes environment, the Philippines' role would not be passive. As a frontline state, it could provide crucial logistical support to U.S. and allied forces, hosting additional U.S. troops, and reinforcing its own military capabilities through expanded cooperation. The Philippines would also be compelled to prioritize the evacuation and safety of its citizens in Taiwan, offering humanitarian aid while preparing for potential spillover effects of the conflict. By playing a vital role in balancing regional stability, the Philippines could bolster its standing as a key player in the Indo-Pacific, not just as a bystander, but as an active participant in shaping the region's future security dynamics. As 2024 unfolds, Taiwan finds itself at the epicenter of an intensifying geopolitical struggle. China's determination to reintegrate the island, the U.S.'s commitment to Taiwan's defense, ASEAN cautiously navigating the situation, and the Philippines' critical role in the regional security architecture all point to a volatile future. The risk of military conflict looms large, and the consequences of such a confrontation would reverberate across the globe. Taiwan's pursuit of sovereignty, backed by international support, continues to challenge China's claims, and the Indo-Pacific remains on a razor's edge, with the balance of power delicately poised. The stakes are enormous, not only for Taiwan, but for the entire international order. A misstep could lead to the most dangerous conflict the world has seen in decades. Thank you for tuning into our channel. If you enjoyed the video, please remember to like, share it with your friends, and subscribe to our channel for more in-depth analysis of global issues.